A very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sunita Jain from Hello Kids. I welcome you all for today's session that is behavior management with our special guest, Mrs. Harsha Ramya, founder of Small Wonders Playhouse from Gujarat and National Core Committee member of Early Childhood Association India. Harsha Madam, we welcome you all. We
Thank,
welcome you to Hello Kids preschools and Riverstone schools.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much,
much
Sunita.
for your precious time.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you so much.
Dear friends and parents, we all know that understanding behavior management in early childhood is very, very important. And it's really required a lot of brainstorming sessions to understand it properly as a parent and as an educator. So, here we are today with the topic behavior management, the kids' emotions, their tantrums, their reflections, their communications, and their boundaries. So let's understand this from Harsha ma'am, from her experience, who is working constantly with kids, parents, and teachers. Harsha ji, so
Thank you
let's
so much,
start.
Sunita. Thank you so much for everything and wonderful, wonderful brief आपने जो दिया है. Very nice. Thank you, Sunita. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks. You have come here with your precious time to share with Hello Kids parents, teachers, and the management. So let's understand from you. I would like to ask you the first question, which is the main questions in everybody's mind, that do we really require behavior management in early years? And if yes, then why and how it is important?
A very nice question, Sunita. Behavior management. Really, it is very important to inculcate from the very early years. But when I mention inculcate, I'm not trying to tell the parents that they have to form any strategy, because your own behavior when it comes to early years is the reflection. So if you want, we all have heard it a lot of times that if you want a child to do any particular thing, you have to be the role model. So when it comes to specifically early years, words will not act. Your actions will speak louder. So if you want a particular behavior in your child, if you want your child to behave in a particular manner, then I think you will have to work down to that level to make that child understand that, okay, this is the thing that I have to do. For example, getting up early in the morning. So that rule, if you are not getting up, you cannot expect the child to do. So same ways, there are many other behavior strategies also, that if you want your child from the very early years, for example 0 to 6 years, 0 to 6 years is a very sensitive foundational growth years, wherein it is very important because parents will have to act more and expect less. Because if you are able to balance that, I think then you can give out a very nice behavior strategy. Because here, if you tell the children, because children at this age have very less listening skills, and they listen only what they want to listen. If you tell them two three things, from that they will pick up only one thing which they feel they want to do. So it is very important that we use less words, we act more, and our actions speak, and let children understand that, okay, this is the format and this works in my house. So I think behavior management from 0 to 6 will be less in terms of words and more in terms of action. So parents need to be very very sensitized in that manner to understand. Because supposing if there's a phone call at the home, and the dad tells the daughter, lift up the phone and say that dad is not at home, dad will call afterwards. So the child of 2 years or 3 years is understanding that my dad is standing there and asking me to tell something which is not correct. So it is a very small thing, but that behavior is inculcated in that act. For you, that call is not important. You feel that, okay, I will call afterwards, or just now, it is not important for me to attend that call. It is a very very tiny matter. But what the child is understanding through that matter, if we miss out on those things, I think we are not doing a behavior management properly. Thank you, Sunita.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with you, Harsha ma'am, that in this age, 0 to 6 years, which is the most developmental age which we speak at preschools, and this is very important to inculcate this behavior management. And as you said, words less, more of actions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the kids will learn or they'll follow more of your actions You cannot force one child to eat some vegetables when you are not eating it. So as a parent,
Exactly.
we have to also eat the same along with them, then only they will develop that behavior. So thank you so much for your very great insights on this. So we'll go next is what kind of behavior issues are normally seen at home and at schools. So for a parent's perspective at home, what kind of behavior problems we can see in kids, and at schools, what kind of different kind of behavior things we can, I mean.
Okay. So, Sunita, I will brief this question into two parts because 0 to 6 is one category and then 6 beyond is another category. So, let me focus on 0 to 6. So, behavior at home and behavior at school are two different behaviors. A child who is very talkative at home can be very silent in school, because in parents teachers meeting, I'm sure we all have come across this comment that ma'am, he does not speak at home, and then the teacher says that okay, he keeps on speaking in the class. And reverse also may happen, that the mother may tell that my child keeps on speaking all the time, and the teacher says he's very silent in the class. So a totally different personality a child is when he is at two different places. Now let me pick up only the home front. So at the home front, when the child is, he is in a very independent behavior because he feels that this whole kingdom is mine. So he reacts, he behaves in a manner of ownership. So what happens, if we talk about mainly the behavior of 0 to 6 years, there are a lot of behavioral issues which I have jotted down in toddlers. Is they keep on interrupting. The first behavior problem is they keep on interrupting, because many parents have come and they have complained that ma'am, they don't allow us to speak. Whenever we are speaking, they have to interrupt in between. Second behavior is screaming in toddlers 0 to 6 years. Specifically, if you have must have noticed, they shout a lot and they want to be heard. So that is a second behavioral issue. Third behavioral issue is running away. Always when you call them to do something, then they always tend to run away from that position. Whenever you call them and you want to say, beta, come here and tell me this rhyme, they will run away. Beta, do this, they will run away. If there are guests at home, they will run away and they will find a hideout in the house. And throwing tantrums. 0 to 6 years basically is the age wherein you will see children throwing tantrums at large. So here, if we compile all this, there is one problem base and there is one problem based solution to this. So when we talk about children who are interrupting or children who are shouting, there is one problem, because they do not get ample time to speak. At times, what happens? Parents and children, the relationship is such that the mother or the father always wants to talk to the children in terms of giving instructions. So parents are always in an instruction mode, giving instructions. You have to do this, you don't have to do this, you go here, come here, sit down, stand up, whatever. So what happens? Children do not register all these things. They want to talk. So when I talk about communication skills in between the children and the parent, the first basic law of communication is for the parents to understand to listen, because children have lot of words they want to express. They are very talkative, and they, because that is the outlet of their emotions. So it is very, because if children will not get that kind of a platform, they are going to definitely shout, scream and interrupt you because they want attention. So parents need to very well understand that in 24 hours, when the children are active for 10 to 12 hours, at least in intervals, they should be given time wherein they speak. And when they are speaking, I want to tell that and underline that when children are speaking, they have to be heard also. Because at times, when children speak, most of the times the moms are cooking and then the children are coming and pulling their saris and says mama, and then mama is like stirring the vegetable and ha beta, I'm listening to you. Or mama is on the WhatsApp and the child comes and interrupts, and that is where the child feels left out. So what he does, when you are into a conversation or when you are into an important work, he will come and interrupt or he will come and scream. The only solution to this is that give children ample time to speak And when I mean speak, I will underline that eye to eye contact should be there. When the child is speaking, the mom or the dad should sit and listen and feel that each and every word that the child is saying is important. Because what happens, whatever the children speak, it is very childish. So we feel it is not important. So we don't give a proper attention to that. So what happens? Children don't feel important. So they will find their ways every single time to feel that they are important. So it is very important, whatever. For example, if my daughter, who is now 7 years old, she's playing with her doll. Now she's dressing the doll up, in her room. And then she wants me to look at the doll. And if I don't look with that love and that care, she will keep on, pulling me, Mama, look here, because for her, that thing is very important. And if at that time, if I involve my 100%, I think the screaming part or interrupting part will go away. Second, about running away. There are types of children, Samita. So we have to understand, because every child is not the same. Every child is an individual. So my child is extrovert. My child is introvert. My child is emotional. My child is sensitive. First, I have to figure out that, because unless I figure out, I won't be able to give any perfect solution. So if an introvert child, I have a different set of challenges, a different set of solutions. To a sensitive child, a different set of solutions. So I think first we need to understand that what is our child type, and then we can go into that. Now, when talking about running away are the children who are very shy kind of a people, who love isolation very much. They want to be in their zone, in their room, or wherever place, cozy place they find. So when strangers come at home, when friends come, when guests come at home, they tend to run away and go in their place, because they feel secured at that particular place. So if at that time, if we are calling the child in front of the guest and we are trying to introduce the child, or many parents have that habit to tell the child that recite that rhyme which you were doing, so dadaji will listen, or buaji, any other person who is not daily coming in the house comes, and you tell the child to recite, it is out of the child's honor to do that. So the child keeps on running away. So very important to understand that if the child is running away, means the child has a behavior of shyness. So giving him an opportunity to perform in public will put him more away from that. So the parents, if they understand that, okay, the child is not feeling comfortable, give respect to the child's behavior rather than pulling and trying to change that behavior. About throwing tantrums also, because 0 to 6 years, I've seen many children, the tantrum till that extent that they will lie down on the floor, they will start rolling, they will, bang their legs, their head also on the wall, and that way they will start crying, screaming. So at that particular time, I feel that the child needs emotional touch at that particular moment, because many a times it happens that these are those children who lack emotional touch. And when I mean touch, is physical touch as well, because children really thrive on touch. So 0 to 6 years, it's very important that every single day parents cuddle their children, parents hug their children, give them kisses, because that is also a medium of expression and bonding. So I think if we practice these little things, we can, have victory on screaming, on interrupting, running away, and tantrum throwing. And specifically, when the tantrum is thrown, when you're seeing that the child has a meltdown, he's lying on the floor or banging his head or hands or legs on the floor, at that particular time, I urge the parents, at that particular time, do not share knowledge. Do not try to correct the behavior of the child. At that particular time, let the child release. The only thing that a mother or a father can do is hug the child and soothe and pacify the child. Whatever explanation of the behavior has to be given can be done post the child is relaxed and has completely thrown out the whole tantrum. Because at that time, if you will go and try to explain the child that this is not correct, beta, no, don't do this, don't do this, he will tend to do more. So at that particular time, let the child finish that whole episode. The only thing that works at that particular time is a tight hug, a kiss, a touch. So that is from my side. Thank you, Sunita.
Thank you so much, Asha ma'am. I would also like to ask the audience that what is the one word that child listen every day throughout the day? I mean, from morning they get up till the night. What is the exact the word that listen from the parent and from the teacher sometimes?
I
So can
have that answer, huh, Sunita? I have that answer.
that's what. So that is that single word which they listen the whole day. That don't do this, don't go there, don't eat now. So this no word. They are literally fed up with this word. They always listen to this negative word. So that is the one of the main problem what they are facing for the behavior. What I feel. And the next thing, what, as you told, we should give some time to the kids, right? You said that we should not go at the same time and explain them that this is not correct and you should behave like this. And that is the same pattern which me and Preetham we both follow for our twin kids. At before sleeping, if any behavioral issues we saw throughout the day with Chanky and Chia, we explain the same thing during the sleeping time, just before sleep. That this is what happened today. You should have behaved like this, and you did this. So that is the calm and quiet time they can think properly and they can react to it. So that is a very important point which you forwarded to us. Thank you so much for that. The next question to Harsha ma'am will be, what kind of different behavior issues in toddler and in young age? Like there is a toddler age at 0 to 2 years and then the next stage. So what kind of different behavior changes we can see in this age gap? So can you ma'am explain to us about this? Harsha ma'am, are you there? Harsha ma'am, can you listen to me? So as we discussed with Harsha ma'am about child's behavior at home, at school, there are totally different kind of personalities we find in school and at home. As she said, one child can be very quiet at home and very active at school, or the vice versa, very active at home but very quiet at school. So all the kids are, the first thing is individual. We cannot expect the same kind of behavior for each and from each and every child. Like from my son and from my daughter, I cannot expect the same thing because they have a different kind of personalities. So that as a parent and as a teacher we need to understand, because teachers also handle a lot of kids at class and they cannot expect the same thing from each and every child in the classroom. And same for the parent. If you have there are two siblings or three siblings, you cannot expect the same thing from each and every child. So Harsha ma'am, I had start. Harsha ma'am, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Sunita. Yes.
So I was asking you about this. That please give us some insights that what kind of different behavior issues we find in toddler and in young age.
Okay. So when it comes to young age, the behavior changes because now children have started understanding life in a little bit better manner. So what happens now, the behavior of disrespect. When it comes to 6 years and beyond children, the first problem faced is disrespect, aggressive and violent behavior, bullying, lack of motivation. Laziness is lot of seen in the children, inattention. So these are the 5 behavior when it comes to 6+ children, because now these children understand respect. And when I talk about respect, in 0 to 6 years, if the children are not given enough respect as an individual, if we all the time keep on telling children that this is not important, okay, you keep on talking about like this, no, not now. So the children don't feel important. And when they don't feel important, they will not give importance to other people. So it is very important to understand 0 to 6 years, you have to implant, you have to lay the foundation of a proper character. Only then you will reap the fruits of these characters after 6 years. Now when it comes to aggressive and violent behavior, in a lot of parents, when we talk, they come and they tell us that children have become very, very aggressive. A lot of aggression is seen, violent behavior. Now if you dig down, this behavior is just Mainly the reason is ample of screen time. Now, I'm not cursing the screen time, but what the children are watching in that screen time is very important, because all the cartoon characters don't emit positivity, because there is a villain, there are other characters also, and the story goes wherein you find that they fight in between. So now what happens, a 6 year old or a 7 year old, when the child is watching that serial or that Cartoon Network, he figures out one character and he becomes that character. So he will feel, okay, I am Shimmer, I am Shine, I am Paw, I am Patrol, whatever the characters are. So now they try to identify with them and they start behaving like that. So if you pick up Chota Bheem also, if you pick up any other character of that, they may identify and they may start behaving that way. Now, any battle that Chota Bheem has in his episode, now the child understands that, okay, the solution to find for any battle is to fight, or is to push, or is to bite. So what happens, the child tends to cultivate that kind of a behavior when he is with his friends or when he is at family grounds. So it is very important that what the child is watching, how much he is registering, because mainly aggression and violent behavior, one base cause is the television, the screen time, and the second base cause is that children from 0 to 6 years also have a habit of just hitting their parents at some time, that is out of love they do, and they start biting their parents. So at that time parents have taken it, they have not stopped that child. So now the child has started understanding that if anyone does not listen, I have to hit him. And when the child grows older, the hitting becomes more and more violent. So in schools also, because the child has not learned, 0 to 6 years, the child has not learned to share and care. So when it comes to school, after 6 years, he will not wait for his turn. So he will be impatient. And out of that impatience, he will try to, resonate that battle with fighting or with bullying. Because at times, children, I've seen 7, 8 year old children also are bullying their friends. And they can bully till what extent, I'm not able to explain it right now. The kind of words they use, I'm shocked to hear how they have this kind of a word bank with them. So this, I think the main culprit is the screen. And I will not 100% say that screen time should not be there, but exactly we should monitor that what screen time children are getting and what they are watching out of it. And another to add to it is that, when supposing if my child is watching Chota Bheem, and if there is an incident wherein I find that the hero of that film is doing something which is not correct, what I will do, or what I am doing as a mother, I would say, I will, take that discussion after that episode is over. I will sit down with my daughter and ask her that, okay, now this Chota Bheem today, he hit that other man. Was that correct? So the child has watched negative thing, but now I'm taking a discussion and asking the child. So that is very important. So what I'm doing is, what he has watched, I'm diluting that with her thoughts. So it is very important to do that, because we cannot control what the children are watching all the time. So even when the children will grow to teens, toddler hai, till that time it is okay that we can keep a watch. Now I have a teen also of 22-year-old in my house, my son. So it is very difficult to keep a track what he's watching. So it's very important that when we get time, we sit down with the children, we discuss any negative thing that has happened, and we give our view that, okay, if I was in Bhim's place, I would have done this, what would you have done? And if the child tells anything negative, we can always discuss it out. So I think if those things are done, more solutions can be generated, rather than just talking about the challenges that we have with behavior problems of the children, Sunita.
Yeah, that's what I totally agree with you, Harsha ma'am. Like there is a give and take relationship between parents and kids, teachers and kids, right? If you want respect from the kids, then they have to also get the same respect in the initial years, especially, so that that behavior will be there throughout their life. So that is one of the major point which we came across from Harsha ma'am topic. And the copying of actions. What you talk about the screen time is okay, but unattended screen time from the parent side or from the any adult is the main culprit to get this kind of word bank. What you told, that from where they are getting all these words. Sometimes we also get surprised that from where he learned this word or whatever. Maybe it's a good word. Sometimes we are very surprised that from where he learned this word. I have never talked about this word, right? So it's the main thing is screen time is there, but what they are watching, and if they are watching something, then we have to discuss with them. Thank you so much for this, ma'am. And then next question will go to the next topic is please suggest some do's and don't for parents and for teachers while dealing with kids' behavior.
So I will again, compile both because teachers and parents fit in the same category. So don'ts first I will speak. When
Yeah.
it comes to the don'ts, I think we have to understand that let's respect the children. If a 2-year-old child also comes to you, it is very important to give that child a respect of individuality, which I think as parents and as teachers we miss out because we
Yeah.
understand that this is a small child. What he will know, it's okay if I don't, because if you don't attend this child today, the child will not attend you later. So the first number is to give respect to the optimum. And when I talk about respect, I'm talking about giving quality time. So when I talk about quality time, also is an uninterrupted quality time wherein my eyes, my body language, 100%, my ears, everything is for my child. So it is very important for the parents, because if we are able to hook these things, I think the whole battle is won. Because 80% of the problems of all the behavior issues that we talk come from not getting the quality time. So it is very important to give quality time wherein your eyes and ears, your mouth is shut, your eyes and ears are open. And when I talk about ears open and eyes open, you have to understand between the lines also. When the child is talking to you, there are few things that he just mentions and he stops. So you have to touch that core, and you have to understand that okay, if this incident my child is talking means what he is undergoing, because the child does not have that kind of a vocabulary to make you understand what he goes through. For example, about the coronavirus, if we talk, the child is scared, so he will just say mama I am scared, but inside that is a whole story. So we have to dig down, we have to find those words. So these are some do's for the mothers and the fathers, that you have to give words to the children, that okay, if you are feeling scared, then these are the things. Are you feeling this? Okay, I am there to take care of those things. So I think you have to become the mouth. And when I say the mouth, the mothers and the fathers should not always give instructions to the children. It is to understand. So this bridge is there when the child is talking to you. The child says one word and you are understanding the 100 words. And about the touch, I would say it is very important if you have the touch therapy. For example, every night when you sleep, if you just do a joint prayer by touching your children's hand, and if your husband is also in the room and you can just hold hands and do the prayer every night, I think that do will work a lot, because it is a touch therapy, a bonding that works. And when you regularly practice this touch therapy, believe me that when your child is throwing a tantrum or when your child is losing out on any emotions, if you touch that child, you will feel what he is feeling. So that is very important, because when the children grow up, I'm taking now from 0 to 6, I'm now taking to the teens, that when the children reach their teens, Sunita, it is very important to have this emotional connect. Because if this emotional connect is not there, the world is so much virtual, the world is so much on media, that now children tend to lose out on emotions. Now everything is like a WhatsApp emoji, so expressions are also shared that way. So if an emotional connect between the parents is not developed from 0 years, I think you will lose out on your children when they are teenage. So that touch factor is very important. It sounds little weird, but once you start practicing, you will come to know that when the child is throwing a tantrum, when you hold his hand, you will understand what the child goes through. So the first do is that when you are talking to your children, keep your eyes and ears open, your mouth shut. And the touch factor, as I mentioned, it is very, very important to have that touch, because only emotional connect will take you longer with your children. Thank you, Zanita.
Thank you so much, Harsha ma'am. We talk about respecting children. The children needs respect from the very very early age, which is very much ignored from both the sides, actually from the parents and the teachers or the other person who are dealing with the kids. So that we have to keep in mind that we have to give them respect to get that respect back. And the quality time what you talk about, that is very very important from the parent side, even from both mother and father. It's not about only mothers or only father. Both has to give their quality time to the kids. And the same applicable to the teachers also. At school the teacher should give equal attention to each and every child in the classroom. None of the kids should feel like I'm ignored or something like that. So that quality time is very very important. And what I feel, that observation of a child is very very important. Like each and every parent and especially the teacher should observe the behavior of a child. If any behavioral problem is there, then we have to observe that child from before that act and after that act. For example, a biting problem is there, then at what situation the child is doing this, what is the situation before the act, and what he's behaving, how he's behaving after biting. So if we as a teacher or as a parent observe that thing, then I think we'll be able to get to a proper solution to the problem. So that is one of the things which we should be very very careful. And the touch therapy, that is also I think a very very important point. Touch therapy from the parent side, from the teacher side, because they get that connect and that connectivity build up also, especially in the school, because in preschools the kids comes where for the very first time out of the home environment. So at that time if they will get that kind of comfortableness from the teachers and other staff, then they'll be enjoying in the school and that behavioral problem will not be there. So thank you so much for all these very very important points, Harsha ma'am. Normally we discuss about the negativity of behavior pattern, right? What is the behavioral issues, what is the behavioral management, what kind of negative behavior the child shows at home, at kids. So as an expert from you, can we get some examples of positive behavior from different kids at home and at school? So can you just give
Okay.
us some examples for positive behavior?
Okay. So when I talk about positive behavior, I think if parents try and understand that, okay, if you are looking for any positive behavior, you have to set an example, number one, as I mentioned very early, because that is only the root base of of setting a positive behavior. And now, if I want my child, to say good morning when she gets up in the morning, or I want the child to do the prayer, or if I want the child to, do little home chores on her own, for example, wearing the shoes, age criteria I'm talking about, 0 to 6 years, the child is going for a nursery. I want her to tie her shoelaces, pack her bag. I think a positive comments from moms and dads and family members act an important role here, because when a child is taking any effort to do anything on his or her own, I think we should identify and recognize and acknowledge that, because that will give a boost up to the child. So the whole how I'm and when I mention about praise, it should not be to the child, it should be to the effort, because otherwise, what will happen, the child will start understanding that, okay, he will feel hungry for praises, and you will always feel that the child, wants you praise him for anything. So if the child has tied the shoelaces, I think we should address that in a positive way, that wow, Priyal has tied the shoelaces so beautifully. My whole focus, I have mentioned Priyal and I have mentioned the act also. So it is very important to find 5 to 6 such acts in the entire day and give a positive comment. And when you are rewarding a child, I think it is very important that you reward them with a hug or with a little star on their hand, and like that. Otherwise, if you always try to reward them with giving them lot of expensive gifts, or you promise them that, okay, if you're going to do this on your own, papa is going to give you a car, a toy car. If I think you connect that way, it is going to be a wrong practice. So it's very important to understand that when you are acknowledging the effort, you have to simultaneously weave in the love, affection also, because the child should understand that a hug from my dad or my mom for just tying a shoelace is so important. Second, to be affirmative, we have to practice that. As Sunita, you very rightly mentioned that the word no is more often heard than word yes. So our vocabulary also needs little alteration here, because we always, if I talk about myself also, it needs a lot of programming when you have to figure out that no with a yes. So we have to sit down, we have to write down. I have personally done that, that yes, when I use no, I will try to reframe that word with an yes. For example, I'm mopping, the floor is wet and my child is coming with the shoes. The first prompt reaction will be, no, don't walk here. So here what I have done is I have told my child, I will, instruct my child, beta, the floor is wet, what will we do now? Will we walk with our shoes on it? And then the child will remove the shoes. So I think it needs a lot of programming, it needs a lot of time to do this, and lot of practice, because in the first go this is not going to happen. If we are taking the child to someone else's house, and if we want the child to behave in a particular manner, on the way we are instructing the child, we are programming the child that okay, you are going to Babita auntie's house, you are not going to ask for any sweets, you are not going to ask for any chocolates. I think that is a wrong practice. So we have to direct that in a positive word, that okay, today we are going to Babita auntie's house, how are we going to behave? Are we going to ask for the chocolates, or we are going to wait for Babita auntie to give the chocolates? So I think if we practice, this sounds lengthy because lot of programming has to be done. But once you do this programming, you'll have to do it for a little while only. Then the child will automatically get in this track, and he will start understanding that, okay, this is the method. It is a long method. You yourself have to sit down and practice, because we ourselves have grown up with this word no. So whenever this word no comes out of our mouth and we have to alter it with an yes, it needs a lot of time. It needs a lot of practice and programming. But it can be done, and you yourself have to first be positive to make others positive. Thank you, Sunita.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. As you told, we want to communicate one thing to the child, but the way should be different. Like how we are, excuse me, how we are communicating with a no, don't do this or don't eat this. Now, how we have to tell the same thing but in a different way, so the child will be able to understand it properly, and they will react to the pattern what we are expecting from them. So the first
Exactly.
thing I would
And
like,
Sunita, one, I'll just interrupt here. And
yeah,
when you are telling something not to be done, if you explain with a reason, they will understand. Because, children also are very, very cunning creatures on this earth. So if you give them a particular reason, they have that ownership that, okay, I have been explained this and I am given an individual authority. So when you are explaining this, that the floor is wet and why we are not walking on the floor, that is very important, so the child will understand. And second important thing is that you have to give them another way out also. If not this, then what? Because
yes.
that is halfway you've left the child. If not this, then the child is puzzled, now what? So you have to give them a way out. So this needs a lot of programming. I cannot just tell one thing and you will start practicing it, because situations are different every single day with every single parent, with every single child. So you will have to figure out first that if I want a no to be a yes, then what is will be the statement, and then if a no, why that no, and no, so now what? So these are the four stages that you have to, take the child. And once you practice this, it'll be a fun. But for doing this, lot of brainstorming, lot of mental exercise, and lot of time constraint will be there in this factor, Sunita.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. That's really true. Actually, what we were talking about also, like being an when any positive behavior in this small child, then we need to give them some time also. If they want to be independent, then obviously they'll be needing more time than it. Suppose, for example, a parent is feeding a child, or I'm helping him to do a tying of the shoelace. Then obviously, if he wants to do by himself, then he'll be needing more time. But normally the parent don't have that patience, and then stop them doing that and they do it by themselves. So this is one kind of behavior changes we need in parent rather than in kids. So we need to encourage them to do something by themselves to make them independent. So that is, I urge to all the parents to encourage their kids to do their things by themselves, Initially they'll be needing more time, but gradually they'll be more independent, and early they'll be independent by themselves, which will be helpful to you only. So I'd like to go to the last questions now, Harsha ma'am. That is,
Yes.
as a teamwork, how it is important to handle behavior with young kids. Any example for that? As a team, how we can handle it in a better way?
Okay. So as a team, I understand that as a team means the family members, specifically the mom and the dad. They are the team when it comes to, addressing any challenge of a child or any behavior of a child. Now, in toddlers or in young age, the first rule is that this team should be united. What happens, if the mother is talking something and the father is talking something, the child understands the middle way out, because children, as I mentioned, are very, very cunning. So for example, if the mom is telling no for Cadbury, and if the dad is not listening to that and then offering that Cadbury, I think the child will understand that if I want something which my mom is telling no, I can go to the dad. So this is first the wrong practice in any house, because I think it is out of love that that dads give, that kind of a liberty, or that yes to the children, that okay, mama is telling no, don't worry, I will bring for you. But that is not for just for that case, because it will go further also. And when children grow up, after toddlers, when they come into young and then they come into teens, they will understand that for any no, I have to go to my dad, and or any person of the house, dad or mom, who tells yes. So it is very important that when you husband wife are taking any decision for the no of the child, you have to be a team. So when the child comes to the mom, he hears that no, he comes to the dad, he also hears the same thing. So I think that ground rule should be there, that both the parents have to speak the same language. So if you try and practice that, a big rule the child will understand, and then the child will also try to act accordingly. Second thing is that, as I mentioned about the Cadburys, for example, there are certain rules in a house that the mother has set for a routine. Getting up, taking bath ka ek time hota hai, then brushing their teeth, taking their breakfast. There is a routine. Homework time, screen time, everything is a routine. I think that routine should not be disturbed. So for that also, I think a joint team decision is very, very important. If it is a large family, it tends to get disturbed because children has a lot of options to go. For example, if there's a grandfather, if there's a grandmother, if there's a buaji, then they tend to run away, and they tend to find a way out, that okay, mama is telling no for this thing, and now the grandpa is going to tell yes for this thing. So larger the family, the unity, the teamwork, the word spoken should be the same. So here, when the family is large, I think the control of the children should be given to one family member, either the mom or the dad. So the other family members also should tell that if your mama says yes, if your dada says yes, then you can do it. I'm not there in between to interrupt. So I think that is very important when it comes to team efforts. Thank you, Sunita.
Yeah, that's very much true, Harsha ma'am. Like as a team, as a mother and father, as a parent, we should set some basic rules of life. And that to be which I think we should involve the kids also while deciding those rules, so that they will feel that ownership of those rules and they'll follow it better way. Like as soon as you get up, suppose you need to brush your teeth, we don't need to repeat it again and again everyday basis. They know that as soon as I will get up, I should go to the bathroom and do brush up, or after milk we should gargle. Like these are some basic rules we should set our kids with, along with them, so they will follow it properly and every time. So that is one of the basic, what we can say, teamwork at home. And as we say that there are little ifs and buts at this age, like the age we are talking about. Whatever we say as a rule, as a pattern, they will follow it for the lifelong. So it's very, very important from the parent side to like highlight some basic and good points throughout the day, what the child should follow. Don't, and whatever you are expecting from the child also, it should be little realistic. Don't expect which is not realistic.
Correct.
So we are at the end of the session with all our questions answered by Harsha ma'am. Very nicely, we got a very, very important insights on the behavior management topic, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I can ask the parents or the audience to ask any questions very quickly so that Harsha ma'am can give her experience. She can share her experiences with us. So, any question from the audience side? Ma'am, one parent or one audience, Revati Ravi, she is asking how to help parents who want their shy child to be on stage in the name of exposure. Is that right?
So here, very rightly, I appreciate that she's picked up this question. Now, for shy children, I think time is only the answer, because if you try to push the child and push him to perform on the stage, it will take the child even back. So it is very important that you give the freedom to the child to understand and come forward that, okay, mama, now I want to participate. I completely understand that every parent want their children to perform on stage, but here we have to understand that every child is born with an individual quality. Not every child is born to be on the stage. That does not mean that the child is not on stage will not shine. So we have to understand the quality of the child. And second important thing is, never push the child in the name of encouragement, because here what we are doing, we are damaging the individuality of the child. So please do not do that, because my son, who is now in the college third year, he has been shy all his life. So today also, when we were planning a talk show with children, all his friends have come forward and they have participated. And he said, "Mama, I'm not comfortable to come on the screen, so I will not do it." So though I am so much on the live sessions, he is an introvert personality, but I have to accept that he is an individual person. So we have to give up on that, and we don't have to push the children in the name of encouragement. Give them ample time. If they want to, they will come up and they will tell you. Because if you try and force the child, he may perform on the stage, but what goes inside him, that he only knows. So that emotional disturbance, emotional torture that happens with the child, that we will never come to know. So it is a crime if we are pushing the children in the name of encouragement. We can always give them encouragement in terms of words, that, okay beta, if you feel comfortable this time, we will participate, otherwise no. But that should not be a force. So allow children to be on their own and accept that. That is what is my take on that, Sunita.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. And people are asking so many questions now. I don't think we have so much of time to answer all the questions now. But the main common question which people are asking about how to handle aggressive kids. This is the
Okay.
same question asked by 4-5 different persons. So I think you
So
can highlight something on
yeah,
this.
so aggressive children, I will say, they need lot of physical movements to be done. So you have to provide that kind of an environment to the children wherein their physical movement is done. Because if they get that kind of an opportunity, then I think you will find that behavior very less, because they need lot of physical exercise. They need to move their hands, their legs, their body. So you have to channelize their energy, because their energy levels are too high. And if they are not channelized, you will find them fiddling with the things. You will find them running here and there. You will find them always picking up anything and throwing. And that kind of aggression is there, because that energy does not have an outlet. So try and find out those kind of things wherein you give physical exercise to the children, wherein they get a lot of opportunities to move, lot of opportunities to scream, because these are the children who want to talk loudly, who want to shout, and that is the medium of expression. And when you don't give that kind of an exposure to the children, it get dumbed up, and then it comes out in the name of aggression. So when the parents talk to their children, they don't even talk properly with the parents. They answer back, or they are very harsh, their tone is very rude, and all the time they want to be very very aggressive. So with the other person sitting there also, they will try to always keep fiddling with their body parts, or their hair bands, or their dress, or anything, because they want some action. So try to give that action a channel, so that the energies are put on work. And when the body is little tired, you will find little calmness, but it will be over a period of time. It won't be sudden. So you have to take a lot of effort to put their energies at work.
Yeah, that's the same case which sometimes I also face as a parent. because my son is very active, and that's what we also work on the same way, that the physical need of the child is more. So we should ask them to do more of cycling or play football or play cricket, rather than being busy with throwing items from here and there or hitting some other child at home or something like that. So that is the one thing, we have to handle the child according to their physical needs.
Absolutely.
So should we go ahead with few more questions, ma'am?
If time permits, definitely we can pick up 2 to 3 questions.
Okay. The next question is, one of our school owner, I think she's asking, most of the time I think we can handle the kids, but it's very difficult to handle the parent.
Parents,
How you can
absolutely.
help us in this regards?
So here, I'm very happy that this question also is raised, because it's very tough. You can handle 100 children, but you cannot handle one parent. So here comes the orientation, because regularly we have to orient the parents, because parents are clueless, and they don't know what to do. So for them, it is their first child, and it is the only child, on the earth, who's very loved and very beloved and very caring. So they have all the possible time, all the possible effort, all the possible feelings, and how they have raised this child, they want the teacher also to raise in the same way, which is not possible, because teacher has 20 to 25 children. So
Yes.
here it is very important, as school owners, as school managers, to come forward and orient the parents regularly. Orientation to the parents will definitely give a proper answer, because parents also have to be streamlined, because they have to understand till what extent their involvement is important, and till what extent they have to intervene, and when they have to step back. So I think school's role is very important here, Sunita.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. Like, as you said, it's very nicely explained. I think most of the audience, they are getting all their answers from their questions. There are so many other questions, like how to handle the stubborn kids, the screaming, that all comes through, I think, the aggressive nature or the stubborn and all these things. And the last question which we can go is how to explain the difference between a good and bad behavior to a 3-year-old child. I think we can take it as a last questions. After this audience, whatever more questions you have, you can just put in the comment side. We will try to get you all the answers from Harsha ma'am, and we'll try to give you the answers also virtually. So we can go with this question, ma'am. The last
Okay.
question.
So, good and bad behavior for 3-year-old is really a difficult task. So, first, important is to expect age-appropriate things from a child. So, when it comes to 3 years old child specifically, I think they understand sharing, they understand waiting for their turn. So, what you can do is, when you're playing with your child, I think when you're playing ghar ghar, when you're playing doctor doctor or teacher teacher, that kind of role plays, pretend plays, when you're playing with your children at that particular time, you can do a wrong behavior and explain that to the child. So it is very easy for the child at that particular time to understand. So pretend plays, role plays will help you to explain good behavior and bad behavior. But when you are explaining these behaviors, you have to be very, very age specific, because if you tend to inculcate heavy words and heavy behaviors in the child, they will lose out to attend and understand that. So at 3 years, and we're not pushing, not shouting, waiting for the turn, sharing, talking softly. These are the behavioral things that you can talk to the children, and then the children can also respond in that way. Thank you, Sunita.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harsha ma'am. Thank you so much for your time for Hello Kids and Riverstone. We are really feeling honored to have you here. So I would like to wind up the session with Harsha ma'am insights. I think all the audience got their answers for all their queries. Whichever we are not able to give now, we'll try to give it later. So as we discussed from the beginning till end, we have to give respect to the kids. We have to give them their own time, the space. Don't always use the word no. And we should try to get to the problem first by asking them open-ended questions so that we can get to the problem, then try to get a solution by involving the child and ask them whether you are okay with the solution which we have got for this problem. So these are some patterns which we should follow as a parent, as a teacher, and appreciation and praising. What Harsha ma'am mentioned, we have to appreciate, we have to praise a child for a good behavior, for a good activity, by a well done, by few words, by a hug, or by a high five, or by a star. It's not required that every time we should give them a toy or a outing or something like that. So these are few points which we are very happy to get it from you, Harsha ma'am. Thank you so much. And the one major problem which I would like to highlight is the sharing problem, which normally all the kids they have. So they have to learn sharing. That is the next word which we can use for sharing is waiting for your turn. So if we are able to teach our kids to wait for that turn, that means they are ready to share all their belongings. So thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Harsha ma'am. Thank you so much, audience, for this.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you so much, Sunita. Thank you, Preetham. And thank you, Monica, for all the efforts that you all took to put this show live. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harsha ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.